right, well, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thanks for dialing in for another live. Really happy to do this time from Dubai. Last time we did it from Tenerife, so now a bit of location change. And just in time, you might have read in the news recently, we had quite the weather change over here. The strongest storm in the history of the UAE, actually, over the last 75 or so years. So really wild weather last night. But yeah, hopefully it's getting better now. It looks pretty good out there. It's dark already, but definitely starting to clear up now. It was sunny today, so that's good. But yeah, thanks for dialing in. As always, just want to go through a couple of news of the week that came over my desk that I thought that was newsworthy to share. Kind of see what the markets are doing, and then as usual answer a bit of Q&A from you guys. Whatever you have, drop it in the comments anytime. I'll go through afterwards in the end of the live and see what we got there. Right, with this, let's dive right in and have a look where we stand over here. So obviously, yeah, just a quick recap in terms of weather. I mean, it was absolutely mental over here. I can tell you, I've never seen that. I used to live in total 7 years in Dubai, but obviously never seen such rain before. I mean, you know, even now when I was looking out my window, there are still so many cars stuck in the streets because they couldn't drive anymore. They got stuck in the water there and can't drive. So obviously it will take a few days to clean everything up and so on. But yeah, it was really quite unfortunate. I mean, that's everywhere, literally. And the issue was I didn't have any food at home. I couldn't order anything because all the delivery places were out of service. So I was in the rain trying to catch some pizza somewhere. So yeah, it was quite a mission, but yeah, touch wood, luckily so far things are seeming to rebound and getting better. Let's look at some of the markets in the world, how things are doing. Obviously starting with the big US equities over in the US, obviously. So far, yeah, for today, I mean, it doesn't really make sense. I'm not a day trader, so I don't really look at today. You know, for the month, you can see definitely first half of April, we're down quite a bit, you know, across most of the various indices in the US. Micro cap, small companies, but even S&P, Nasdaq pretty much on par. But then again, I always like to zoom out, right? As long-term investors, I'm not really so bothered about 1 month, 5 months, 6 months, even year to date. I mean, that's a couple of months. Still, we're in the green, which is nice. But for the 1 year performance, I mean, the S&P is still up 22%. I mean, that's a very nice growth, right? Definitely complaining about that. Of course, Nasdaq, which is all the tech companies mostly, they're up 35% year over year. Of course, driven by some of the bigger tech players like Nvidia and so forth that really have seen amazing growth, you know, over the last few months or so. Which I think will also be slowing down a little bit. Now we've seen Intel actually recently coming out with their own sort of AI future proving chips. So I think they will be quite a big competitor to Nvidia and other players coming along because of course, naturally, right? If something is so profitable, more players will invest more resources to get there. Even ChatGPT or OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, is said that they will work on their own chips, which is quite interesting, you know, for a software or AI company to start working on their own chips. It just shows you the potential and power those chips have. So I think we'll see more changes with that regard very soon. But yeah, overall, definitely very much in the green. Then you can go through the various sectors. So here we talk about, you know, technology obviously is up. You know, again, I look mostly for the 1 year over here. You can see that technology is definitely doing the strongest. Communication services as well doing quite well. But again, then you have some other, you know, sectors like utilities, for example, consumer staples. They are down, right? And that's where I had a lot of my dividend stocks invested. You know, things like Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Altria, a smoking company. Of course, they're not really seeing so much growth right now. In general, they're not really high growth companies. But even now, they're down further versus some other sectors are really picking up. Again, those things will change over time, but that's just the reality, what it is right now. It's something to keep in mind, right? And that's why I always say, you know, it's hard to really pick which sector is going to do well in which, you know, sort of period. And that's why I'm always a big fan, you know, going back into the S&P 500, because there I have all those various sectors in there. And whoever is going to be the winner will eventually, you know, benefit me as an investor. So that's something just to keep in mind. Of course, there are different, you know, equity factors, you know, value, dividend growth, etc. But yeah, overall, looking good. Then we look at global equities. And again, slightly different stories, right? Because here we see some of the developed markets, even, you know, none of them are, you know, nearly closely to the US performance. So that's always something to keep in mind as well. Of course, that's just, you know, 1 year or even at the 3 year, you know, for a longer time period, it might be different. But yeah, when we go down to the countries, same story, right? I mean, most of them on a 1 year horizon, none of them is really coming close to the US. US is up 21%. The closest one would be Japan, which recently seen quite a bit of a nice pickup over there. China being down. Again, these are sort of indices that take global, the bigger companies into consideration. But yeah, it's a snapshot of the market economy in a way. So yeah, that's for me, again, just very telling that I'm so confident in the US. Now, of course, just because it's been like that doesn't mean it has to be like that, right? The history is never a guarantee for future success. But I'm just, I don't see any of those outperform the US anytime soon. Maybe for a year, maybe for a little while, but long term, I just see, US, at least for the next 10, 20 years, to be the leading horse. And that's why, I invest in there. But again, there's no right or wrong. If you think France is going to be the future, well, then go for it, right? Or some people like to have a global diversified ETF, and that's totally fine. I'm all for it. I really don't dismiss anyone's investing ideas. Everybody has to find what works for them. But yeah, for me, I'm just very confident in the US, obviously. Bonds, not something I'm actively looking into. Looking at those numbers, I guess it was a good decision. But yeah, I know some people like bonds. They're happy with that. They make some good return. Obviously, right now you can still. But yeah, it's not something I'm actively investing in. A bit of commodities. Obviously, those people, where do we have here? Gold, they all get, it's so funny, when Bitcoin drops, I don't know, recently by a few percent, oh my God, Bitcoin is collapsing. When it grows by 20%, nobody really talks about it, only when it grows by 50 or more percent. Gold now, last few months you can see, year to date up 15%, which is not bad, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, 15% in, 4 months or something that we're into the year is really nice. But then in all the news, gold is booming, get into gold. And it's so interesting how the narratives in the news are different. Again, I'm not a gold investor. I have nothing against it. I totally understand why people invest into that. It may appeal to certain people. It doesn't appeal to me. I like things digitally. But I get the point. And yeah, nice to see gold definitely continuing to increase in price over there. What else? Yeah, and then finally the currencies, of course. Just another point why I always say I like to invest into US dollars, because yeah, while I'm, ideally I think long term we're going to move away from all fiat currency into more digital currency. But if I had to choose a fiat currency meaning dollar or euro or Japanese yuan, these are called fiat currencies, the money we're using right now in circulation. Out of all of those, if I had to bet and put my money behind, then definitely I go with the dollar, because yeah, I mean, it's just going to be the strongest currency. How they say, it used to be backed by gold, like many other currencies. These days, well, like it or not, but it's backed by military, right? You don't want to mess with the dollar, because then you're going to be messing with the country. And yeah, if I had to choose any of them, obviously I still, myself being European, I hold a bit of euro, between euro and dollar, but yeah, dollar would be my pick if I had to choose one, and all my stocks and ETFs are invested into dollar currency. Right, let's move along, see some news here. Obviously, you may have heard that Hong Kong, I think this week, finally approved their spot Bitcoin and even Ethereum ETF. So, that may not mean much to you, but essentially what it means is it allows now Chinese people, of which there are, 1.3 billion people, so quite a few, to sort of legally invest into Bitcoin, right, or in Ethereum, which technically they were not really allowed, as I understand, before, because they banned it for a while. So now you have, supposedly, who knows, a massive influx of investors into Bitcoin, which means more demand will typically drive up the price for it. That's at least the hope. So in general, it's a nice signal to the crypto markets that once again, more authorities are giving, and regulators are giving the green light for Bitcoin in particular. I'm a Bitcoin investor, 100%. But again, even for Ethereum, which is good, which the SEC in the US still didn't give. There's still the battle going on. Will Ethereum ever get SEC approved ETF? We shall find out. I don't know. I'm not investing in Ethereum, but if you are, then obviously that would be important for you. Then of course, we have the Bitcoin halving, which everybody talks about, most likely happening this week. Nobody knows exact date, so it's kind of an estimation. Closer to the date, they will know exactly, but it depends, on the frequency, how the blocks are mined and so on. Again, technically, I'm not 100% sure how that works, but basically it's going to happen this week, where the block rewards for mining them will be slashed in half. Which is actually a very smart thing that has been programmed into Bitcoin from the beginning. So the whole premise of the bull run for Bitcoin recently was said, because of the halving, the price will go up, and everybody got excited. But then, I listen to so many podcasts and so on, and really it's interesting because obviously markets have a habit of pricing things in. As soon as they hear the news, they already price it in. So when we've seen this huge ramp up in price recently, which we did, right? Not so long ago, we used to be, I think, even down to $35,000. Then we were over 73,000, all-time high before the halving. That didn't happen too often. So already people say maybe it was already factored in, and now people kind of bet against it for it coming down. So again, like always, when we talk about the future price of anything, nobody knows, right? It can go either up or down. That's why I think it's too much hype around this. I keep on buying. I mean, now it's been dropping the last few days quite a bit, so I'm really happy to get it at a discount. But if it goes up, continues to go up, I will continue to buy. Short term, I don't know. It might go down, it might go up. I have no idea. But I think long term, once again, I'm a long-term Bitcoin investor. I see this only going up. But yeah, too many people get too excited about this, and I don't think anyone really knows because the market, they will do what they have to do, and some people might try to short it and what have you. So I wouldn't get into this. If you want to speculate and try to make a bit of money on that, you could potentially, but again, nobody knows, right? So it's just interesting to see from the sidelines, see what happens. But honestly, I have no idea. So I'll just keep on buying. Let's look at it, how the markets are doing. Over the last month or so, obviously we see now Bitcoin with quite a recess of 10% down, but then again, look at the 60 and 90 days, right? I mean, in 90 days up 46%. We've just seen, some of the ETF, but actually keeping in mind that when you look at the S&P I showed you before, what was it over here? Up 22% for the year. So, not too shabby, not too shabby. It can definitely keep up with that. Ethereum still behind. That's why I said I got rid of it. Now again, the market timing, was it good, was it bad? I have no idea, but I just felt tired of it. I didn't really believe in it anymore. At least, not believe it. I don't 100% understand. I'm not 100% believing in the value proposition it offers. And I can say I can really understand it in Bitcoin. That's why I took my money out of Ethereum, sold it, and switched it into Bitcoin. And yeah, I'm so far very happy with it. Let's see where it takes us. I hope that lovely Katie Wood is going to be right, even though most of her predictions are quite bold and not many of them are coming true. She said it's going to go to 2.3 million now. Previously it was 500,000, then 1 million. It seems her own inflation predictions of Bitcoin seem to be getting higher and higher with every article. Wouldn't be surprised if it's soon 5 million per Bitcoin, but hey, listen, I mean, I'm all up for it. If it happens, it happens. That'd be cool. Even though I'll be very surprised if that happens anytime soon. But yeah, she is in the business of making some bold claims. She had all her crazy Coinbase predictions and Tesla predictions. Again, half of which never happened. There's even an inverse ETF on her funds. So basically, whatever she buys, people buying the opposite to make money on that, and they seem to be doing quite well actually. So interesting concept there. I'm just still surprised how long she's maintaining to be such a public person, because the performance so far hasn't been too stellar actually. Right, let's look at all the total global assets by market cap. And we see here a number of them, obviously still gold being the biggest one, and obviously grew quite a bit now with the recent increase in prices. Still the biggest individual company in the world is Microsoft. Apple is still hanging around there. I'm really waiting for summer to happen until they come up with a new product and the AI suite of things, right? Because so far they've been still very quiet, and they tend to do that until they have something really solid to come out. But yeah, they really need to, because I think they're really falling behind. I mean, all of them, every other week you see, Google coming up with a new AI model, competing with OpenAI and so forth. But Apple is just, hanging in there. So if they don't really actively come out and push that, I see some challenges for them on the horizon. But let's see. Because if it continues like this, I wouldn't be surprised if Nvidia eventually surpasses Apple in terms of market cap, which would be quite interesting. Other than that, obviously silver. I mean, Bitcoin is now back to 10th place. It used to be ahead of silver, but now with the recent depreciation and drop in price, it dropped back a little bit. But still, a market capitalization of 1.2 trillion. I mean, that's not to be laughed at. So that's a serious number. And by the way, guys, actually I was thinking in my newsletter, which by the way, if you're not subscribed yet, I really recommend you to do. On my website, you can find the link there. You can dial in and subscribe. And I will thinking to do on every episode of the newsletter, to do once a week a deep dive into each of the companies. So obviously I invest into the S&P 500. So I was thinking to either go down top to bottom or randomly take one of those 500 companies and just write a little analysis on it, because I think it's so interesting. I mean, to be honest, I don't know all the companies. No, I mean, I think none of us really knows. Maybe you know the top, 20 or so. But what about, company, I don't know, where do we, Analog Devices, 92nd biggest company in the S&P 500 and in the US. So a huge company I never heard about, almost 100 billion market cap. So maybe I could do a little analysis, write it there, and give you a little snapshot, because it still obviously has a lower weighting than some of the bigger companies. But yeah, right up there with Starbucks and some other big players. So yeah, maybe it will be interesting. Let me know in the comments if you find that interesting. I'll be happy to do that for future newsletter episodes. Then what else? I don't know. In terms of AI, as you know, I like all things AI, given that my name is 2/3 AI. So obviously, I like to play around with different things. So far, mostly I use still ChatGPT. I'm on the pay plan, which is the GPT-4 Turbo, I believe I have now, which is getting better with every iteration. So definitely for me, those $20 are like such a lifesaver and time saver. I use it for so many things. So definitely, if you're thinking about it, go for it. It's really a huge change from the free plan. But yeah, now interestingly enough, Google, once again, as I said, the competition, the AI array is heating up, and Google came up with a revised version of Gemini 1.5 Pro. I mean, those names are getting a little bit out of hand, but yeah, basically it's a new and improved version, and apparently they can have where is it? Somewhere it says they can take up to 1 million tokens or something. So basically a token is how much you can feed it, right? Back in the day you could maybe feed an email, a small email, and they could analyze the email and then give you output based on that. Now with all these new improvements, 1 million tokens, I mean that's like, I don't know, like 10 books of Harry Potter, for example. You could just upload it into it and immediately it could analyze it and give you responses based on that. It's just unbelievable, because you can feed it so much data and then obviously optimize it for yourself, and yeah, it's really incredible. I played around with it a little bit. I still prefer ChatGPT for many cases, but happy to hear from you. Which are you using? I still like Perplexity as well. I don't know if you ever used Perplexity. It's also a very good tool. They have a free plan and a pro plan. It's more like a search engine, but really gives some good insights. So I like that as well. And even sometimes to analyze stocks, right? And yeah, try it out. Should I buy X and X such and such stock, and see what they tell you. Obviously, don't follow it blindly, and sometimes they refuse to give you an answer. But you can tweak a little bit and ask it from a different way. Imagine you would be stock financial advisor, let's say. What would you do in my shoes? And it's really interesting the kind of question and answer it comes back with. So I like to do that once in a while, just to challenge myself, before I make a decision or what have you. So not to follow it blindly, but to get inspired by it. And yeah, I kind of like it. Right, guys, what else is happening? Other than that, yeah, I mean, as I alluded to in my previous videos, and let me switch back to full screen over here. Right now I'm in the midst of setting up a new online community called Smart Money Club, so I'm really excited about that. A lot of technical things involved, so I've been setting it up yeah, the last few weeks, a lot of things going in. We already have the first few members, kind of the founding members that are there. We're playing around different things, what works, what doesn't work, how we can improve it. But then at the back end, there's so many tech involved in it, how the payments work, the communications and so forth, notifications. So it's really interesting. I like it. But yeah, it takes a lot of time, but hopefully very soon I'll be able to share more with it, with you guys, and then yeah, open it up to new members, because I think it's going to be so exciting to have really like-minded people join the club, and really from all over the world, like already now on the channel, right? I have people literally from all over the world, so it'll be so amazing. We're going to have live calls there, one-on-one discussions, chat forum, a knowledge base, tutorial. So really a platform for like-minded people about all things money in a way, because yeah, I mean, I remember myself also in the beginning, maybe not all the friends, you have some good friends, but not every one of them is really into money. With your friends and family, you can't necessarily talk about these topics. Yeah, many cultures still taboo to talk about it. So I think that's a place where you can really come and open up and get some inspiration, share your wins, your losses, ask for questions, feedback. So yeah, really excited for that. So stay tuned for more. Other than that, I've also been playing around last few days with Notion. I don't know if any of you is using Notion. It's basically yeah, it's like an online, like a second brain in a way, right? It's like a database. It can do so many things because in the past I used to have, my video scripting ideas on Apple Notes. Then I would have some ideas on my and tasks on my to-do on my task manager, which is Things 3, which is an app for Apple. Then I would have Apple reminders also. So it was all over the show, all scattered, and not one real, main hub for where all my content ideas lives, my notes, my tasks. And I tried Notion many times in the past. It's a little bit overwhelming at first, but now I actually bought something quite expensive, a template for it. So now I wonder I get a return on my investment, because I already spent, for me, it's a lot of money on a template. So I said, okay, now I really forced myself to make it happen and integrate it in my workflow. I'm getting better with it and I really enjoy it. So if you tried it out or not yet, definitely check it out. I'm thinking about sharing with you for free my expense tracker for subscriptions, because in the past I also had it on an Excel sheet, but then again it's a little bit cumbersome to open the Excel sheet on the phone. It's not very user friendly, and now I actually build it up in Notion, and it's really cool. So you just enter it over there. You can see it on the calendar when the next payments are coming up. You can see the total per month, by category. So I really enjoy it. So I'll just fine tune it a little bit. So if you want me to, I can make a video about it and then share a link to my free Notion template so you can use it for yourself. So maybe that would be interesting. I guess that is all from my side. So let's see what questions we have here today. Ward, thanks for dialing in. Nice to see you as always. Good. 1 second. Here we are. Ward, thanks for dialing in. Who do we have? Kotakis. Our investment strategies are really similar, Kai. That's nice to hear. Very good. It's interesting, when I was a little bit afraid, because in the beginning I talked so much about dividends, and then I sold a lot of my dividend stocks, and I thought, oh my God, all the people now are going to abandon me who like dividends. But still, obviously some people like this, some people like that. But I also think as investors we evolve over time, right? So just because you like dividends, for some time, doesn't mean you cannot like something else in the future, right? It doesn't mean you also have to abandon it. I mean, I still have some of my dividend stocks, and even if I do sell them, I still like dividends, right? I mean, my ETFs are going to pay me dividends, so there's nothing wrong with it. I'm happy to hear that. But again, ultimately, there is no right or wrong. It has to work for you. But I hope to, in a way, inspire people and just to think about things differently. Even if, for example, they don't like crypto. I know crypto is not very popular on my channel. Whenever I talk about it, it seems not very popular. But that's totally fine. So obviously I understand that. But still, maybe once in a while you can open up yourself and say, okay, maybe I start with a small position. Or if you only invest in crypto, say, okay, maybe I want to diversify and do have a little bit of some ETF in my portfolio, just in case there's huge swings in the crypto anytime soon, right? So I think it's nice to kind of, get inspired. And even myself, I like to watch other investing channels to get an idea. Okay, maybe I should add this ETF also to my portfolio, or maybe I should look into this project. So I think it's always good to keep an open mind out there. Bitcoin for the win, learn my lessons with small cap meme coins. Yeah, I mean, definitely meme coins is not the way to go. I tried it as well in the beginning, but no, I will stay far away from it, because it's just, then better go to the casino, enjoy yourself and have a good time. If you lose, you lose, but at least you had a nice time. But meme coins, I don't know, it's not for me. Ryder Jack, hello Kai, when you buy stocks, do you follow brokers' recommendations or you make your own picks? I mean, 100% I make my own picks. I mean, I don't follow brokers' recommendations. I don't follow anyone's recommendations. As I said, I get inspired. So if I see, if a broker tells me to buy a share, that will be already very strange. So I'm not sure what you mean by brokers' recommendations. I don't think they really give recommendations. Obviously, some of them, they have some analyst ratings, if you mean that. So they display what the analysts are saying. So that's not the broker's analyst. It's kind of what they're pulling from analysts from other banks and so on. So it's a bit different. I don't think a broker is really recommending you any. If they are, then that seems a bit sketchy. I would not go for that. But even people online, right? If they tell you to buy a stock or a company, always take it with a grain of salt, because, what is their agenda? Why are they telling you to buy that? I never tell anyone to buy it. I'm sharing what I'm buying, and it's up to you if you like that or not, but always do your own homework. And that's what I do myself, right? A lot of people share with me, Kai, you should be buying this. I look it up, and, quite often, immediately I can see red flags, for example, if it's a dividend stock, right? And there's a high payout ratio. For example, the dividend stock, and they have a payout ratio of 95%, meaning 95% of the profits they're paying out to the shareholders. For me, is already a red flag, because that's not sustainable. Or I look it up and I compare it to the S&P 500 over the last 5 years, and it underperformed by half the returns. it's not something I want to even look at further, right? So definitely always do your own homework. It's absolutely worth it. Straightforward question: will you do a hair transplant? Well, not planned right now, but who knows what the future will bring. If it recedes further, I may have to, but for now I'm still okay. But thanks for asking. Hope it doesn't bother you too much. Is XTB good? Not 100% sure what is XTB. If you could clarify, is it a ticker symbol? So I haven't come across that, so sorry for that. So can't comment on that. What else? Ward, do you have a preferred way to look at performance, time weighted, dollar weight, real rates, or just look at the numbers? To be honest, I probably take a combination of all of them, right? I mean, there's no right or wrong. Ultimately, yes, I want to see, what's my total, all these different percentages are nice to, depending on who you talk to, right? You can say in that percent, in that measure, I did well, in that one not. So a lot of investors, I notice, they cherry pick whatever works best for you, how they look the best. Ultimately, we as our individual investors want to see, how much my total growth was. So that's what I usually look at. At the same time, I still combine it, the different measures. And most brokers and trackers, they show you different ways. So I always compare that and see to get an overall idea. But I don't think there's one is better than the other. So yeah, hope that makes sense. What else? At what amount of crypto would you recommend getting a ledger, cold wallet over a software wallet? I mean, like literally as soon as possible. I mean, I had a software wallet in the beginning, but if I had 100, 200 euros, but I think anything over 1,000 euros, again, it kind of depends on how much is your total net worth, I suppose, right? I mean, if you have 10,000 euros invested, then 1,000 euros is arguably quite a lot, 10%. If you have 100,000 invested, then 1,000 euros is still a lot, but in a way, I mean, it's a bit more manageable. And if you do transact a lot online and buy certain things or trade crypto and what have you, then of course it makes sense to maybe have a software wallet. But in my case, as I said, I'm buying and holding. So what I do is I have everything on my Ledger wallet. I buy it on the exchange. I usually buy a little bit every day or every second day. And until there's a sizable amount, let's say anything over 2,000 euros, then I do a withdrawal into my Ledger hardware wallet and I have it there. And then I send once again fiat into my exchange and start accumulating a little bit Bitcoin again. Because if I withdraw it at 200 euros, sometimes the cost of the withdrawal are a little bit too expensive. So as a percentage, it would eat into your turns. So I let it usually maybe even 3,000, 4,000, but it really depends on you. So as I said, if you have, I don't know, 1 million, then 1,000 euros definitely don't need a ledger. But if you have 20,000, I would really recommend you as soon as possible. I think there's nothing wrong. Just get into the habit of having one. It's a one-off investment. Once you have the ledger, you have the ledger, and then it's just a matter of using it. So I think really start as soon as possible. No need to wait around. And I'm not the biggest fan of these software wallets, again, unless you transact a lot with them. What else? Not too many questions here, guys. If you have any, pop them in there so that I can answer them very happily. But yeah, other than that, who do we have here? Beute. Is VUSD same as VUSA, just in USD except Euro? I believe yes. I don't 100% remember at the top of my head, but I believe the VUSD is the one. We can look it up 1 second. My favorite website, Just ETF, that's always a good resource. So you can pull it up over here and see what it is. Okay, USD, pop it in there, and then you will see. Oh, let me 1 second share the screen. Sorry. Yeah, so here we have exactly. It's basically S&P 500 is distributing, so the same as VUSA, and then we go down to the stock markets where they listed. And then yes, we see basically correct. It's it's the same, but listed in this case in the London Stock Exchange in US dollars. You could also buy it in Mexico apparently. Yeah, this is if you wanted to buy that one, you could definitely go for it. In terms of euro or dollars, I prefer. I right now buy in dollars actually. As I said, I believe in dollars more. As I've shown you before, the currency is doing better than many of the other currencies. But yeah, ultimately it's your choice, and either one is good. You can't go wrong with either of them basically. What else? why do you hold S&P 500 ETF over global ETF? Like, look, I mean, I think I commented quite a bit on that, as I showed you before, right? I mean, already in the S&P 500, when you look at global ETFs, the S&P is the strongest part of it right now. It has the biggest weighting in it. So a lot of them have 60% US weighting anyways. And I understand those companies. I understand US. They're transparent. And most of them are global companies by nature anyways, right? You know, if Apple is doing extremely well in China, it's going to show in their results. If they're doing extremely poor, it's going to show as well. So by nature, all of them are a diversified company. The difference is that I can understand those. I lived in China. You know, the Chinese stock market is a little bit different. So here you're putting your money and hope that there is something coming out of it, but we don't actually know. You know, all the data we get out of it, it's kind of what they want you to see. And I really don't think that, you know, South Korea or Japan are overnight going to make a substantial difference, completely outperforming the US. There might be some years where they're doing better, I have no doubt about it, but long term, when I look at the history, when I look at the companies, I understand them, I can follow them, and yeah, so I just don't see a need for that. Plus, of course, also the expense ratio is lower. Yeah, it's not a huge difference, but in my case, I pay now 0.03%, and some of those, I believe there's 0.22%, so again, it goes out of your profitability. And over the last, you know, I don't know, whatever, 10 years or so, the S&P has outperformed. Again, it doesn't mean it will continue to do so, but it's just a matter of lower expenses and a better understanding. And I believe that the US will reign supreme in the coming years. And if the US completely drops and the S&P collapses, I think we have a global problem. Then I don't think at the same time, you know, India and China is completely, you know, flourish while the US is going down. So I think they're anyways correlated, and that's my opinion. But as I said, there's nothing wrong with the global ETF either. It's just my preference, I suppose. What else we have here? I wish you'd be more responsible with your investments. Yeah, look, I mean, I spoke about this. Obviously, it's a defense company, and yeah, I never said I'm a ESG investor. So basically, you could say that for a lot of companies. You know, I mean, basically, when you go through your portfolio in Interactive Brokers, it's quite interesting. They highlight kind of the values and ESG related things and the impact score. So a lot of the companies, they do animal testing, they have ethical reasons. You know, Coca-Cola is bringing diabetes, making people obese, people dying from it. So if you want to play that game, yeah, then it's really hard to invest into anything. You know, for me, also defense means to defend yourself. But yeah, if you don't like it, I totally understand it. You don't have to invest it. As I said, I mean, obviously, I sold now my position, not only because of that, but yeah, I really have nothing to hide about that. I think it's a legitimate company. They're stock listed. It's a legal company, so I see nothing wrong with it. But as I said, if you don't like that and don't agree it, that's the beauty of investing. You have plenty of other companies that you like to invest into. Any travel plans for this year or just enjoying Dubai? Well, I mean, still going to be here a few weeks in Dubai, and then the summer we're going to spend back in Europe, a bit in Lithuania. Going to go also on a little Euro trip to Germany. I want to go to the mountains, maybe Austria, Switzerland, so that'd be nice. So yeah, summer in Europe, and then afterwards back to Dubai. That's for now the plan. So nothing too crazy, but still, I mean, being able to move, and whenever I want, that's the beauty, right? If we decide halfway through the year to move somewhere, well, not to move, but at least go for a while, I can do that. You know, I don't have to ask anyone for any permission, which is amazing. That's the beauty of time and location freedom, and yeah, really enjoy it. So that's good. Lipos, I believe in the crypto market we should approach the caution due to the news concerning the upcoming war. God forbid thoughts. Look, I mean, I think crypto markets and any market really should always approach with caution. You know, if the war breaks out, it will affect pretty much a lot of the places, right? Not crypto specifically, I would say. I think also other markets will be impacted. I just read about today that if that war, hopefully not, was to break out, definitely, you know, it will impact interest rates, you know, which we're hoping to come down. People say it might potentially stay up. So these things have global repercussions. It doesn't just impact one single asset class, but really a global impact technically. But again, as sad as it is, but let's be honest also, we did have wars in the past, right? And S&P 500, for example, you know, when we look at the performance, that factors in World War I, World War II, And through all these times, we still managed to have an increase over time. So yes, it is volatile. But at the same time, if you have a strong fundamental asset, they do bounce back, right? Like real estate markets, yes, they will definitely be impacted in the short term, especially when they're around. But long term, we've seen, houses not getting cheaper, right? On the contrary, they only get more expensive. So yeah, I think it's just something, it will be how it will be. There's nothing for us to impact. We have to deal with the situation, keep an eye on it, of course. But I think long term, if you invest into a good asset class, a solid asset, there's long-term potential. That's why I don't invest into meme coins or things that I don't understand. But Bitcoin, I do believe, has a valid use case, and that's why I keep on buying. If it falls, great, I can buy more. If it increases, well, my net worth increases, right? What else? King family, has it ever happened to you? Every time I buy a stock, whether it's Apple, Tesla or others, the price immediately drops after purchase. What should I do now? 100%, we're in the same boat. Like literally, probably most of the time, so it's like when you watch football, and you said, you don't really have a preference for one team, and then you decide, okay, I want this team to win, and immediately the other team scores. So I don't know, it's always this kind of same effect. But look, again, I'm not a trader, and it depends on you. I don't know what kind of investor you are, but if you invest for the long term, so be it. I don't even look at it. I mean, I still have the apps on my phone, these stock trading apps, but I try really not to look at it on a daily basis, because otherwise you really start panicking, right? Especially as the amounts get larger. When a small amount, as a percentage, you have a 10% increase or let's say 10% decrease, it doesn't sound like much. When you invested 1,000 euros, it's 100 down, okay, fine. But if you have, 20K invested, it drops by 10%, it's 2,000 euros per day minus. And actually that's happening to me right now in Bitcoin. When I see my numbers, they're getting larger and larger the more I invest. So 5% down, it's a significant number, right? So in the beginning I was like freaked out, looked at the screen and said, oh my God, what's happening? Should I sell or what have you? And I did that in the past. I really panic sold, but you learn your lesson, right? You kind of evolve as an investor and you understand that it's just part of market cycles. And I think that's exactly when you as a beginning investor, realize your losses. Otherwise, it's just a paper loss. If you haven't sold, you haven't actually lost money. It's just a red number. But only when you sell it in the red, you're actually materializing a loss. So, stay focused long term. I think, it will recover eventually if you invest in solid companies or asset classes. But yeah, maybe Tesla, it's a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. That's why I'm not investing in it. But, companies, as you mentioned, Apple, what have you, I think you should be good long term. It's like they're spying on you. The moment you purchase, they drop. Exactly. It feels like that. I don't know, but yeah, guys. What else? Any other question? We still have a couple of minutes. I'll try to keep it within 1 hour. But yeah, thanks for dialing in. I don't know if Wednesday is a better time. Again, I suppose. We should do it one day on Saturday, but somehow all these Saturdays are always busy, so I don't know how it's for you. Let me know which day you prefer to do it best. Maybe I should really try it on the weekend to see if more people are dialing in. But yeah, in general I like these live sessions. I think it's more interactive, yeah, hopefully in the future we'll grow the audience. Good, guys. Well, if there's no other questions, then maybe we'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot for your time, for dialing in. Always appreciate it, hanging out with you guys. And yeah, until next time, as always, stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you very soon. Ciao.